Hello, altos of the Reading Choral Society. I hope you're all enjoying your extra free time. Hopefully you're staying safe and healthy, washing your hands a lot. I, of course, am very sad that we don't get to sing together on a regular basis for a little while, but I am very grateful and very glad that we're taking the extra precautions we need to take to keep everybody safe and healthy. And I'm so glad that we live in a time when we have the technology to be able to continue working together, even though we're far apart. So, you all have been doing such spectacular work, learning your music at home and coming to sectionals fully prepared. So I hope this isn't a big change for you and that you're able to continue working hard at home, even though we're not meeting for a while. So, we are still working on the Verdi, as I'm sure you know. And this week for sectionals, we are working on the Rex Tremende, and we are going to be looking at page 41 through page 51. So it's time to take out your Verdi score and a pencil. Pause for a moment if you need to go get those things. And moving on, I have some very important notes for you from Graham, so take out your pencil right now. First things first, on page 41, we will be singing the tenor 2 line from measures 325 to 329, and that is the A flat. So there and there. Boop. Singing the tenor 2 line on page 41. Then we go back to our regular alto line at page 42 and measure 336, and we stay on our own alto line for the rest of the movement, except at page 50. On page 50, here it says die Hälfte, and here it says die andere Hälfte, and that means the half and the other half. So die Hälfte will be the alto 2s, and die andere Hälfte will be the alto 1s, and then we are all in together until the end, I believe. So to repeat, on page 50, measure 374, just the alto 2s, and measure 375, just the alto 1s, and then we're all together from there till the end. So now that that's all squared away, let's go back to page 41, and I'm going to give you all some tips and tricks and some things to look out for this movement as you're working on it at home. So on page 41, just something to note, we come in on a pianissimo after the basses give us this fortissimo, decrescendoing to a pianissimo. And I would just like to point out that we are continuing the bass line. So we are continuing on their pianissimo rather than echoing them and starting on a fortissimo. So I would put a circle around that pianissimo there. Same thing on the bottom of the page. Also, it should be very easy to find our starting note on this page because not only is it in the accompaniment, it's also the last note that the basses sing. So we're going to jump up an octave from where the basses are, and that's how you're going to find your note to start. Okay? Now, moving on. At page 42, measure 336, I would recommend that you circle this rest. It's going to be very tempting to come in on the downbeat there because the basses are singing at that moment. So I think it's important to get the rest so we're all together. Continuing on at page 43, measure 342, I would put a little star right there at this measure because this is a change in the pattern that we've been singing. And if you zone out and you're not thinking about it, you will probably continue the other pattern. So put a star there to note that the pattern changes. Continuing on to the next page, page 44. Down here, we have this fun little double dotted rhythm that Verdi has given us a couple of times before. but it is a little bit tricky, so I would circle it and make note that it's a double dot so you don't mess up that rhythm. And moving on to the next page, measure 356 down here. This is another change in the pattern, so I would put another star there to remind yourself that we are changing the pattern and singing something different. This one's got 4 dots. 4 dots. Which is also a very tricky rhythm. So circle this whole section, and this whole measure, I mean. Circle this whole measure to remind yourself of what's to come. Moving on. So as we've talked about before, singing this kind of music takes a lot of support, which is that tummy tensing kind of feeling that we had talked about in sectionals before. And this part in particular is going to take a lot of support because we have this huge long note. Where is it? Here. We have this huge long note, and big long notes are kind of hard to sing if you're not supported, so don't forget to engage your support there. Also, on the next page, page 50 and 51, starting at measure 374, this whole chunk is gonna take a lot of support as well. So don't forget to engage your support there as well. Also, we have some funky little chromatics on page 51. Here. And as you guys know, it is very easy to go flat when we're doing repeated notes and chromatics. So that's going to take even more support to get that perfectly in tuned and a lot of listening. Okay? So this whole movement is fairly simple and fairly straightforward, and except for a couple measures, give or take. And I have no doubt that you will all be able to work on it and learn it on your own. However, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. My email is Marcelyn, marcelyn@gmail.com, and I would be absolutely happy to answer any questions you have about this or anything else. So thank you, altos, for doing your homework. I so appreciate you all, and I look forward to getting to sing with you all again.